The Pod News Weekly Review has used chapters all year so far.
The last word in podcasting news. This is the Pod News Weekly Review with James Cridland and Sam Sethi.
I'm James Cridland, the editor of Pod News, and Happy New Year.
And I'm Sam Sethi, the CEO of True Friends, and it's a Happy New Year from me too.
From your daily newsletter, the Pod News Weekly Review.
Welcome to the Pod News Weekly Review. At the end of last year, we heard from some of our friends from across the podcast industry with their highlights from 2025 and their predictions for this year, 2026.
So, James, how would you sum up what they said?
Well, it was really interesting. I mean, you could very easily lose count of the amount of times people were talking about video and people talking about AI, and a mention of Taylor Swift on there as well. Quite a lot of people mentioning Taylor Swift, but some absolutely fascinating bits in there as well. Obviously, some were quite sort of silly about how excellent their companies had been, Greg Glenday, but plenty more in terms of he doesn't think that you like EBITDA, does he? Doesn't think that you like that.
Well, I just think it's a false prophet. Yes. In both senses.
Anyway, now a couple of the things that I thought were really interesting. Firstly, Shay from Amazon asking for standards in video, which is excellent that someone of Amazon's size is asking for standards like that. I think that's great news. So good to hear that going on. Good to hear Jordan talking about AI slop and the value of human connection and all of that. I mean, it's what I've been talking about for the last year. It's excellent to hear Jordan saying that as well. So that was really good. Two other ones that I spotted. Ben Cave from Apple, which was excellent that you managed to get hold of him. So congratulations on that. Teasing some new features in Apple Podcasts this year. I wonder what they're going to be. And Ellie asking from Pocket Casts, asking for more podcasters to use Podcasting 2.0, particularly the location tag, which again, I think points to something that they're planning. But I was very excited hearing her talking about that. You obviously heard all of them as well. What was there anything else that came out for you?
Yeah, I mean, I liked Adam Bowie's take on it. I thought Adam was very good. And also Matt Medeiros came out with some crazy ones, which I thought was nice. Because, yes, like you, I think everyone's got the same similar view. It's going to be what is podcasting, what is video, where do the two meet, AI slop. But also, if you look at Jay LaBeouf at Adobe, they're bringing out smarter tools and they see it in the assisted intelligence area where AI will help us rather than the co-hosting area. And then I think outside of that, I think generally, there was a lot of people who were positive. I think the growth in 2025 seems to be, yes, there was a lot of layoffs and some of the sadness there. But I think overall, people think 2025 is when podcasting took another step towards maturity, and 26 should be a great year.
Yes, weirdly, nobody who works in podcasting turned around and said, I think 2026 is going to be shit. Weirdly, that never happened. But no, it was really good. And, I think what I enjoyed about it is hearing so many different voices, voices from across the world, but also voices in different parts of the industry and everything else. So, it was really good rather than just the same old, same old. So, good job, Mr. Sethi.
Well, thank you very much, but it was a joint effort. Now, moving on, it's our turn, James, to look back at 2025 to see what our predictions were at the beginning of the year, plus give our highlights and lowlights of the year itself.
Yes, we will. So this podcast is sponsored by Buzzsprout with the tools, support and community to ensure you keep podcasting. Start podcasting, keep podcasting with buzzsprout.com.
James, so let's kick this off then. Let's look at your highlights, lowlights, but first your predictions, and I'll mark you as we go through them. James, what was your first prediction for 25?
Right, here was my first prediction.
I think this is where the industry makes a choice between Spotify and YouTube and a bit of Apple, i.e. the proprietary stuff, and the rest of podcasting.
The industry having to choose in 2025 between proprietary platforms and open platforms. Where do you think I landed there?
I think success. I mean, the industry did land on proprietary, sadly, rather than open. They moved to YouTube. Yeah. But I would say there was a silver lining in it all, James. I think just as much as we thought, Spotify was proprietary and Apple for a large part of 25 was proprietary. Apple opened the doors, and even Spotify teased us a little bit. YouTube's remains a closed wall garden. So do you think we have to wait for our prediction show for 26 before I was going to ask you the next question. So I'll stop myself there.
Let's not do any of that. Let's go on to my second one, shall we?
Indeed.
One large podcast company will focus exclusively on video and stop doing audio.
So, will you say that one company did that? Would you say you were a success?
Well, would you say that I was a success, Sam?
Yes, because I think Flight Studio was one of those companies. I think Pave possibly was another one. And I think when we look at the general number of different production companies have all adopted video. Maybe they haven't exclusively gone to video, but they've very heavily leaned into it. I mean, we listen to companies like Message Heard and Listen, and they've all gone video.
Yes, I think, I mean, Flight Studio obviously is still does audio. Diary of a CEO, which is hosted there, does very well in terms of audio. But I think certainly there are some podcast production companies, particularly with the deal that we saw with iHeart and Netflix towards the end of the year and all of that. I suspect that there will be podcast production companies now which are just making stuff for video and not for audio. In fact, I know that there are because I see them coming in every day and I go, that's not a podcast. And I delete them. So, so there are certainly companies doing that. Have companies switched over yet? No, but there are certainly new content companies who are doing that sort of thing. So you've got me down for 2 successes so far. So let's see how I do with number 3.
I think that we will hear much more AI-driven voice content.
Well, there you go. That was an easy one, wasn't it?
God, that was a banker from heaven, wasn't it? It was like, if everything else fails, I've got one.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct. And haven't we just seen a lot of that? We'll talk a little bit more about that in the highlights and lowlights, no doubt. Number 4.
A pullback in podcast industry events. We may see fewer podcast industry events happening, or we may see them scaled back rather a lot.
I think I'm going to have to give you a big success on that one. I mean, sadly, we saw podcast movement evolutions diminish quite a bit in 2025. It's now a part of South by Southwest. But equally, I'll give it to you because we've got Ashley Carmen over at Bloomberg with On Air Fest and the Business Podcast. Smaller events, invite only. So in both cases, I think the bigger events seem to pull back, but the smaller events are popping up with more vertical focus.
Well, that's 4 out of 5 that I've managed to get so far. So here's number 5, and we'll see if I get this one.
I think we will see an industry-wide campaign for open RSS happening in 2025.
Oh, dear.
Yes, oh dear indeed. But I think you were on the right track. I think we need what you were asking for, which is a campaign for open RSS. I think I wrote a post recently on LinkedIn, which seems to have gone down fairly well, which is basically saying, I don't think people understand what RSS is. I just think the TLA is so sort of, oh yes, and it does RSS. Oh yeah, okay. I don't want to ask because I don't want to sound stupid. So, so I'll just say, yes, it's a podcast, but actually a podcast without RSS is like fish without chips. I think we don't sell the benefits of podcasting with RSS, publish once, play everywhere. And that's why TikTok and YouTube and others can appropriate the term podcasting and not support RSS.
Yeah, it's been interesting. There have been grumbles and and people having little clandestine conversations behind the scenes talking about a replacement to RSS for many years now. We haven't seen that, and we have seen, some companies talking about RSS. I mean, apart from anything else, RSS.com seems to quite like what RSS does. So I think we have seen a lot of companies talking about the benefits of RSS, but not in a coordinated way. And I was expecting a large company to be forcing that into the open last year. That didn't happen, which is a bit of a shame. And, so hopefully that'll happen this year, because I do think that there is something, as you've been saying recently, that RSS is important. So 4 out of 5 there.
Not bad, mate. Not bad.
Yes, not bad. Let's go through your cheeky predictions. I only say that because you've managed to get 6.
Well,
but anyway, let's go through them. Here is prediction number 1.
My first prediction is the download as a metric will die.
I think you wish that you had succeeded.
Okay.
There was a lot of talk, wasn't there, in the last episode from lots of different people about how the download needs to die. And I totally agree. I don't think the download has died yet. And I think, some of that needs to basically be pulled back to the open standards, and to see if we can actually get some proper data from more of the industry. But I think that the download metric, maybe it's not died, but maybe it's on life support. And so I can probably give you that.
Thank you. I mean, in hindsight, actually, I think one of the interesting metrics is when you do see the number of downloads and then you see the conversions to plays, you then go, oh, what's my ratio? And actually, I think that's quite interesting. I think Apple could do the Armageddon again. They did a massive one, didn't they? Where they snipped, lots of people's downloads away. They might do it again. You never know.
Wow. Well, yes, there's a thing. Imagine. Just imagine. Just imagine. Right. Here is your second prediction of the year.
I think more advertising monies will head towards podcasts. My only concern is that I don't think we'll see a trickle-down effect. I think we'll see money going to the top, and a lot of money going to the top, but I don't think we'll see the trickle-down.
More advertising money for podcasts taken from TV and radio. I think that has definitely happened. And so, as we saw the numbers up to 2.4 billion, and we'll have to wait until May, of course, for the next figures. But we saw some really nice numbers there. I think probably there's a conversation around, is all of that money going to the top 10%? And I think that's a conversation that we might have in a little bit, but certainly more advertising money. Yes, you can have that one, Sam.
Okay, thank you.
Number 3.
Secure RSS is a model that I think will allow Podcast 2.0 apps to go to the mainstream content producers, audiobook providers, and music publishers.
Now, there was a lot of talk about secure RSS in your predictions last year,
Yes.
and L402 and all of that stuff. I think charitably, no, you don't get that. But I think, but on a wider level, I do think that actually what we are seeing is the equivalent of secure RSS, if not, the standard that you are working on. But I think the equivalent of that, we are seeing more and more of that happening now. So Apple paid subscriptions, Patreon, of course, doing more stuff in terms of paid subscriptions for podcasting, Substack as well. I suspect that we will see even more of that. And if you remember Norma Jean Belenky talking a lot about this sort of thing as well. So I think you probably get half a point.
I mean,
there.
I would add.
Sadly, it's not yours.
No. I would add two things. First of all, Spotify to that list as well, where they,
of course,
with video.
Of course.
But I would also point out that both Fountain and TrueFans now have implemented Premium RSS now, as it's going to be renamed.
Yeah.
And look, yes, we'll see whether 26 is the year that starts to come into the Podcasting 2.0 apps more, or we'll keep it within the walled gardens of Patreon and Substack and Apple.
Yeah. No, I think that's absolutely right. Prediction number 4.
Live podcasting will take hold. I thought this was going to happen in 2024.
Yes. What are we waiting for? What are we waiting for?
What are we waiting for? Now, interestingly, I suspect that we are seeing much more live podcasting happening on YouTube. And, there is, every second week there seems to be a live version of The Rest is Politics, for example, in the UK. So I think live podcasting actually is taking off a little bit, but unfortunately not taking off in terms of open standards and not taking off in terms of where people consume real podcasts, which of course is Apple, Spotify, Pocket Casts, and so on and so forth. There's really no support, unfortunately, yet for live podcasting in there. Perhaps that's something that needs to be pushed a little bit more.
Well, I think we also talked in one of the shows towards the end of the year about Substack adding live podcasting as well. Although that's not, true podcasting, it is creator-based live shows. And my premise is that I think, local radio is something that you and I know a lot about, is failing in the sense that the costs of the networks and local radio stations closing. And I think live podcasting, I thought, was going to be the replacement for that, the democratization of radio, in effect. But that hasn't happened. But I think it's not happened because what I'd call the traditional hosts, the large hosts in the podcasting community, have not adopted live podcasting. RSS went, I think, 50%, 60% of the way. They created the capability, but you had to go and find your own live server. Users aren't going to do that. Other hosts have not even touched it with the barge pole. So I think Fountain, came out towards the end of the year with audio, video, and I know they're going to bring it out live. Myself at TrueFans, we're going to be the same. So either it's going to be coming from those two companies and putting pressure on the traditional host to provide the capability, which is why it will take off. But yeah, big fail. And Dave Jones thinks the same as well, I think.
Yeah, I think sadly, it's one of those things that, you can see so many opportunities for live podcasting. Even me from the other side of the world where the time zones never work, you can see so many opportunities for live podcasting. It's just hard right now to make that work. And of course, you've also got on the other side, you've got the side of working out what people are actually doing and policing what people are doing in those live podcasts, because the last thing really that Apple Podcasts would want is for all of a sudden somebody doing OnlyFans through that. That's not a plan. So so I think that's interesting. Your final one, you are trying to claim this.
I was going to say more cuts to the industry because of AI, but I think I'll leave that on the cutting room floor.
Now, here you say, I'll leave that to the cutting room floor last year.
Well, I was thinking he's going to take it out. Now I'm going to stick it in.
Now it's here and it says success.
Yes.
No.
I'm claiming it. Gripping on by my fingernails to that one.
So instead, this was your fifth one.
Location-based podcasting where it combines AI and location, I think is going to be really interesting. And the device, I think that might be the way of doing that is something like the Meta Ray-Ban glasses.
Okay, I'm going to go for half here on this one. Let me sell my defense here. So the location tag was updated in 2025 to include both the location and subject. which was great. I think we are beginning to see mapping capabilities appearing around the location tag. You mentioned Elliot Pocket Cast talking about something to do with that as well. I think Apple might have something in that space. Maybe the device isn't the Ray-Ban Meta to begin with, but I do think that location-based podcasting didn't happen. So, yes, bit of a fail, but I think it's on its way.
Yeah, I think it's on its way, actually. I think, seeing RSS.com, for example, giving you free podcast hosting, but you have to put the new location tag in. The new location tag is actually very helpful here because that allows more granularity in terms of location-based stuff in there as well. And so I think, it is definitely coming. It's a bit like where we were talking about Apple Podcasts putting podcasting 2.0 stuff into the service. I mean, you claimed that as a prediction in 2023. That was a fail, but it's now a tick because Apple most certainly has put a bunch of podcasting 2.0 stuff in. So I suspect that this will be a slow burner, but I suspect that there will be real opportunities for something like this for podcast hosts to put in. And that's very different to AI tags or something like that, which, we're not going to see from any podcast host because why should they? Whereas for this, you can see that there's going to be some real opportunity. So, I think that's probably a half as well. So hurrah.
Hurrah. Worth putting the sixth one in then.
Let's just take a quick break.
Imagine being in the boardroom with the world's most influential C-suite executives, exploring big questions about the economy, AI, and hybrid work. Welcome to C-Suite Perspectives, hosted by Steve Odland, President and CEO of the Conference Board, the ultimate podcast for professionals seeking the truth beyond trending headlines. Cut through the noise and dive into data-driven discussions, unbiased, nonpartisan, and straight from the top. Listen to C-Suite Perspectives and harness the power of trusted insights for what's ahead.
The Pod News Weekly Review with Buzzsprout. Start podcasting, keep podcasting.
Now we've got highlights and lowlights. The way that I suspect that we will do this, Sam, this is producing on the fly.
Okay.
Is we start with lowlights and we do one each, and then we'll do highlights one each. Does that work?
Yeah. Hey,
excellent.
On the fly production. Here we come.
Yes, that's basically how it works. So the first low light for me of last year was the race to cheap TV shows. And I've been grumbling all the way through, as you all know if you listen to this show, grumbling all the way through that there is a fundamental disconnect between what podcasts are here to do and what videos are here to do. And particularly that this insane race to get shows onto Netflix, which is way, way smaller than YouTube. But, if the Netflix man comes knocking, you'll say, oh, yes, of course, Mr. Netflix, I'll take my show off YouTube where the viewers are, and I'll put it onto Netflix where the viewers aren't. And so that's been one of my lowlights for the year.
And I sadly think we're going to see much more of it. I mean, beginning of the year, we just saw Barstool do a deal with Netflix, and I'm sure that others are in the works.
Yeah, no, indeed. What's your first lowlight? It's the same as mine, by the way.
Industry-wide lowlight, I think. It was the passing of Todd Cochran. He was a character. He certainly didn't mess his words. He said what he thought. And I think he's a voice that will be sadly missed within the industry.
Yes, no, I think Todd will be certainly missed at Podfest, and I know that we're doing a little bit of a thing for him at the Podcast Hall of Fame as well. So, absolutely, I would completely agree with that.
And, again, another little low light for me, Ross Adams is a good friend, and he's stepping down from Acast, was a shock and a surprise. I still don't know what was behind that, But I wish Ross all the best in what he does next. I look forward to meeting up with him at some event in the future. But congratulations to Greg Glenday as well. But for me, Ross stepping down was a bit of a low light as well.
Yeah, no, indeed. And for health reasons is all that we know. So hopefully that means that he is getting some good rest. He did an incredible job for the first 8 years. So
yes.
So certainly.
What's your next low light, James?
My next low light is podcast movement. And I'm kind of sorry to say this, partially because the Pod News newsletter has a 50% business arrangement with Podcast Movement. Hello, James from The Edit here. In fact, from the 1st of January, we don't. Podcast Movement no longer owns half of Pod News. We are instead owned by Event Movement, who are the facilities company that run a bunch of these events, but we're no longer 50% in partnership with Podcast Movement and Sounds Profitable, just so that you know. Anyway, back to the edit. But Podcast Movement, if you're at Chicago for Podcast Movement Evolutions last year or Dallas, the show it's really seemed to have lost its way. It lost its energy, it lost its excitement. Dallas was a bit better, but Chicago was not great. And, I do think that things will change this year. I think we do need a strong US conference to be the meeting place of our industry. The podcast show in London is great, but I do think that we need a strong US conference. And so I hope to see some really good movement there. But certainly Podcast Movement, I'm afraid, was a bit of a low light for me last year.
Yeah, I think my one differentiator between UK-based shows and the US-based shows is energy. Look, I haven't gone to the podcast movement, the Evolution ones down in Dallas and stuff, but the ones I've been to in Vegas and in LA, they're too spread out. I don't feel the buzz. The room doesn't feel active. You have to go hunting all the time to find where the energy is. Whereas you walk into the London podcast show and it just smacks you straight in the face. There's stands everywhere. There's energy. There's people. It's all in one space, one time. And in fact, the problem with the London show is, in fact, you can't get to see everything you want to see because there's so much and it's packed into 2 days. So you often miss something. But I think somehow you've got to bottle that genie up and take it over to the US again and find a location to do exactly the same thing.
I would agree. And I think one of the things that's really going to help with that is for us to stop having to move around the US with, different people. And sometimes it's in Denver and sometimes it's in Dallas and sometimes it's in Washington, DC, except it's never really in Denver or Dallas or Washington. It's in the airport hotel closest to the airport. And so I think actually getting rid of all of that nonsense and having a venue where you know where the venue is, you know where places are to go close to the venue, as we have in the UK, I think will be super helpful. And I think that's one of the things that hasn't really helped in terms of podcast movement over the last 10 years or so. So it'll be nice to see, hopefully, a little bit more consistency there. And I'm curious as to what I see at Podfest a little bit later this month, because my recollection of that, the last time I went, was it was a very different place, very much more grassroots, but there was a lot of energy and there was a lot of sort of excitement there. And I'm wondering whether the energy and excitement is still in the industry. It's just not been at Podcast Movement. So, it'd be interesting. Your second low light of last year
was, I guess, the rush to video. Every production company is now making video podcasts. Now, look, I get it from a business point of view. Why wouldn't you, right? You're doing audio, you do video. It would be crazy for them not to. But we had hoped there'd be more support for things like HLS and the alternative enclosure. We saw Omni begin to put in HLS. We saw people start to use the alternative enclosure, but not all the time. I think the problem is chicken and egg again. I think Apple is the key to unlocking this, because HLS is an Apple standard. They used to do video. They could support HLS video in the Apple podcast again, and that would then make production companies say, oh, okay, well, if Apple are doing it, we'll add HLS back in. Apple could support, now that they have tags from the Podcasting 2.0 community, could support the alternative enclosure. And I think that would fix a lot of the problems that we're seeing where podcasts are just being uploaded to YouTube or Spotify directly with no RSS and no backlinks to anything. I think that's the problem.
I would certainly agree. I don't know whether HLS is the future at all. I'm still a bit dubious about it, but I think certainly video being in an alternate enclosure makes a lot of sense, and at least video to be pulled from there for the likes of Apple and Spotify to then re-encode onto their own systems the way that they want to end up doing it, because they'll have to have a look at the video anyway, again, because OnlyFans. So so obviously that's
job.
going to need it to be done.
What have you got to do? Well, I'm the OnlyFans checker. That's my job.
Yes, that's all I do. So at least that's a job for AI at least. My number 3 in terms of lowlights is the definition of the word podcast. I'm deeply worried about what this means for our industry. If the definition of a podcast becomes more intertwined with video and we still can't decide on a definition, then I think we will, if we're not careful, see podcast revenue disappearing into YouTube, disappearing into video budget lines, and we'll see shows described as, well, shows rather than podcasts. And I think if we're not careful, that means that our entire industry will just vanish, and the attention from media buyers will just vanish. And we might not have a $2.4 billion industry next year. We might have a $3 or $4 billion industry, but we'll never know, because it'll go onto the YouTube line and not onto the podcast line. And that really concerns me. And I hope that we get that fixed soon.
But how? I mean,
not up to me.
Well, I thought you might have some secret sauce you were about to reveal. No, I think it goes back to our conversation about RSS. I think the lack of understanding around what it is. I mean, when you talk about podcasting 2.0, we're talking about updating the RSS. We're not talking about updating podcasting particularly. We're saying that the actual metadata within the feed is being updated with location, person, chapters, transcripts. And that's what's happening, and that's what's being adopted. But I don't think the mainstream public understand that. And I think that's the reason why YouTube and others can get away with it.
Yeah, I think so. Making things simpler. I wonder whether we'll see any changes from Spotify in terms of the way that they do video, not necessarily from a technical point of view, but from another point of view. I don't know. Maybe that's around the corner, but certainly, all of that is just a bit. It's a bit sad, really. Talking about making things easy and simple. What's your third low light?
Yes. Micro payments failed again. I think I've had that low light in 24, in 23. The adoption hasn't gained any real traction. I think we see early adopters on platforms like Fountain and True Fans and some of the others like, Podcast Guru and etc. Are using it, but boy, oh boy, some of the things that they have to jump through in terms of hoops to get a wallet and then to confirm that they can get micropayments into that wallet before even then changing the standard. We went from key send to Ellen address. And I often think when we talk about Ellen address, James, people probably don't even know what that means, which is it's an email-like address for the wallet. So just as your email could be sam@truefans, my wallet address could be sam@truefans as well. And it needs to be that simple. Yeah,
and you see, even saying that simple, as soon as you say the word wallet, most people go, what? So I think it's all of that is complicated. And maybe things like stablecoin help. I don't really understand stablecoin. I'll be honest, but maybe that is the sort of thing that helps. I don't know, but yes, I think micropayments failing again. And actually, I would go further. I would actually say that micropayments has gone backwards. We're receiving far, far less payments via streaming sats than we were. There's far less excitement about all of that sort of thing. And so what concerns me is that the movement in terms of micropayments isn't even static. The movement is in reverse right now, and we need to fix that. We need to fix that fast, and nobody seems to be particularly interested in doing that, which is a real shame.
I think people, and I'm not sure that people aren't interested. I think we have the problem. We understand the problem, right? And micropayments is the attempted solution at that problem, which is how do I give a creator a little micro reward without paying all of that money to the credit card companies. That's the real thing. And as you say, it could be that Bitcoin micropayments becomes a store of value because people don't want to give away their micropayments. And instead it might move to a stable coin, which is fundamentally just a digital coin linked to a fiat currency. So it could be that in 2026 we switch. But right now, the rock being pushed up the hill is still being pushed up that hill.
Well, my fourth low light, and then we'll be moving on to the highlights after number 5. So that's good news. My fourth low light, and I'm going to be brutal because I'm going to mention a company here, Inception Point AI. That is my fourth low light, and AI slop like it. From my point of view, AI has a place in podcasting, but allowing AI to publish shows unchecked, as Inception Point AI have not only been doing, but bragging about doing, is just an abuse of audience trust. And it's filling the podcast directories with SEO-tuned crap that has the capability to push real shows out. I think that we have to do something about this as an industry. And we have to shame companies like Spreaker, who are making the money out of this, because they are essentially killing the industry if they're not careful. So we have to shame companies like Spreaker, who are enabling this. We have to shame companies like Inception Point AI, who are making this SEO-tuned crap. And we shouldn't be standing for it. And what frustrates me about the conversation that we've had for the last 6 months is everybody has looked at what Inception Point AI are doing and gone, oh, well, that's cute, isn't it? And put their head in the sand. And I think we should be making a stand about this for next year. So that would be nice. It's not going to happen, of course. But I think that's been one of my real lowlights of the year.
Didn't get a Christmas card from them then?
a glowing LinkedIn message, message saying how wonderful it was seeing the figures from this very show and how it proves that people want to hear information about Inception Point AI, which I thought was an interesting take.
Okay.
But
that's good PR spin
yeah,
for me.
I mean, great PR spin. Yes. It's no surprise probably that I don't think that it's a very good idea. But I'm just astonished that the entire industry has just sat in their hands and gone, oh no, this is all absolutely fine. There's nothing to see here. Whereas there clearly is. So.
I do suspect that people are looking at this as the canary in the coal mine, right? If it succeeds, others will follow. Yeah. And if it fails, they'll go, it wasn't for us.
Well,
wasn't for us.
Yes, no, indeed. What's your number 4?
So my number 4 is basically podcast events still focus on AI, video and celebrity, but they fail to talk about podcasting 2.0. I have tried with both Jasons from both events, the London Podcast Show and Podcast Movement, to try and get a track that's dedicated to the technology element of podcasting. No takers from either, really. I've had conversations for at least a couple of years. And as I say, one swallow doesn't make a summer. Well, one Podcasting 2.0 session doesn't make a conversation. So it was good to see Adam Curry at Podcast Movement, but that's not enough, right? It needs to be loads of different people. Now we have what I would call sideshows that, at the London Podcast Show, the PSP do a lovely little get together. We all have a great conversation. We talk about what we're going to try and do. But everyone in that London Podcast Show never heard a word of what we said. There was no audience to it. And so, when Apple come out, which was probably feels like, oh, Apple's just invented this, have they? Wow.
Well,
because to most people that would be the case, right?
I guess I don't mind too much about that, and I guess a track about technology is probably not the thing that any podcast event organizer wants to see. But I think a track on what's possible on the podcast apps of the future absolutely is, and I think. I would love to see much more conversations about the location tag, for example. And I think, as I've said in this podcast, many, many times, where we've failed is actually there's no such thing as Podcasting 2.0. There's lots of things in Podcasting 2.0. Many things have been a total failure, and that's fine. Let's just underline that. That's fine. And then there have been a few things that have been a success. And we want more successes. And what I would love to have is a bit more focus on some of the new things that we know works and just focus on that. So I would love to, if I can get the API that I'm looking for in terms of locations, for example, then I would love to spend time and effort and money, because it will need money, building a fancy location-based podcast app and produce something which is amazing, which really shows, oh, wow, so you can do this, can you? And to talk about location podcasting as much as possible. RSS.com now really banging that drum should hopefully mean that there's quite a lot of content in there, which is a great first step. So, hopefully we get to see a little bit more of that.
Yeah, I mean, to the point where I think events should do it, though, is, how are they going to get... let's say, I don't remember RSS.com, talking of them, presenting at the London Podcast Show. I don't remember Fountain. I don't remember Podcast Guru. I don't remember Adam Curry. No. I don't remember Dave Jones. I mean, the point is, there are many voices that are not being heard from. They might not be, I take your point, selling bums on seats. Oh, come and listen to a technology thread, right? I don't think anyone's rushing to that one, apart from... But the way that you rephrased it, which was, come and hear about the future of podcasting, I think that would be a seller, right? And because I think people are bored of, oh, here's AI. Yes, look, you can take your voice and turn it into a digital voice. Wow, I've seen that 50 times, right?
And here's a panel of 4 people totally agreeing about video.
Exactly. So that's why I think there needs to be something. I mean, the other... I suppose just one thing I'd like to say, within the mess and mix of micropayments and events, we tried also to get a music thread. Now, Jason Carter is a lovely man, and he comes from the BBC, and he used to, one of his jobs was outdoor music events and also discovery of new music. And I really had hoped Jason would be the person who would go, wow, there's a music element to podcasting. Is there? Wow, how can I get involved in that, and how can we highlight some of that? And within this technical thread, whatever you want to call it, we would have had that as part of it. Again, I think there's lots of opportunities, but I think events are missing them all right now.
Well, we'll see what happens in terms of those events in 2026. My final lowlight, which is a weird one, is the BBC. There we are.
Yes.
I think they've done things a bit of a disservice in terms of closing BBC Sounds overseas, but still promoting it. Whenever you listen to a BBC podcast, you hear promos for other shows saying, listen on BBC Sounds, which is something that you can't get. It's not rocket science. They're the largest broadcaster in the world, and they can't even get that bit right. And just the inept messaging that they've been giving all year in terms of, can I still listen to the BBC? Can I still access the podcasts? Where are they? I don't know if you've ever tried using the international app. Well, you won't have done.
No.
But the international app is, as an old program director of mine would have said, it's a bag of washing. James, it's a bag of washing. It's really not great. So I think, they've done some pretty bad things. And then obviously there's everything else with capital E's. So that's been a bit of a low light. Just as a Brit, even if I am a Brit abroad now, a fake Brit, I think that's a bit of a shame. So what's your final low light, and then we can start being positive again.
Yeah, I think the final low light was for me, and it was a very personal one for me. Was I was very keen to get a PodCamp 2.0 to run alongside the London podcast show. We got the sponsors, we had the speakers. We thought we had the venue, and then the venue let us down at the last minute, and everything then collapsed inward, because trying to find a venue at the 11th hour is just not possible, and the costs then would have just gone through the roof. So on a personal note, that was a very low light for me, because I was really excited to try and get that. You and I did the Pod News Live events in Manchester and London. I thought they both went pretty well. And I thought, I'm pretty sure I can do this one as well. And sadly, it didn't happen. And I still think that needs to happen. So we'll see.
No, I agree. Who'd have thought it? Putting on events is quite hard. It was a shame that didn't happen. But who knows what the future may bring?
Indeed.
That's all I say.
James, let's get happier. Come on.
Yes, let's.
What's your highlight of 2025?
Okay, well, of my 5 highlights of 2025, I think number one is actually events. It's events that I've been to, particularly the podcast show in London and Pod Summit in Calgary. They were really good, very different, but really good examples of a podcast conference, which is really nicely put together, works very well, is specifically built to bring people together. They do good work there. Now, I'm an advisor for the podcast show in London, I should point out, but I think those are excellent. And if you are considering doing an event in 2026, then certainly do make it to the podcast show in London. Have a think about Pod Summit in Calgary. That's normally in September in Calgary. Obviously, Podcast Movement is going to be in September as well, although we still don't have a date for that. So not quite sure what is going on there. But certainly those two events are fantastic. So I really enjoyed them.
No, have to agree with those. Because guess what? That was my highlight of the year, the London Podcast Show. I just love meeting up with friends in the industry. And, we do our Pod News drinks the night before. That all seems to go well, even though my bank balance didn't.
Well, you've only got yourself to blame.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, actually, not quite true. Podex, but we'll skip past that.
No.
Yes. And again, the Acast Arms, the PSP meeting. So lots of that.
And I think what I enjoy about those meetings, and a bit of Podcast Movement as well, having been rude about it, is actually the conversations that you have over dinner, or the conversations that you have in the corridors. Those are the real benefit that you actually get from those. So I've found that. In fact, that was I think Podfest was the first place that I met Evo Terra, who just came up to me after after he was being a speaker or something, and he said, "I'm off for lunch. Do you want to come and join me?" And we had a very nice nice lunch, and that was a great way of meeting somebody. So I think that's certainly a good thing.
What was your second highlight then, James?
My second highlight was Apple Podcasts. Not just implementing new features. I know that they don't go as fast as anyone wants, but Apple Podcasts not just implementing those features, but thinking really carefully about how to raise all podcast creators with them. So if you look at how they did transcripts a couple of years ago, everybody has transcripts now. You don't have to do anything special, but if you want to control those transcripts, then you can do them yourself. And the same thing goes for the automated chapters now. And I think that they have thought really strongly about those. I wish that they would think strongly about those with the rest of the industry, which is a separate conversation. But I think Apple Podcasts properly implementing those new features and really moving things forward is really good. I noticed a social media post from Dave Jones, saying that he now uses Apple Podcasts to listen to a lot of his podcasts that he has to listen to for work. Because it's got automated chapters in there now, and if Dave Jones is saying that, then you know that they've done something well. So I think that they've done a really good job, and it was great to hear Ben in our show last time.
Yeah, I mean, you have to take your hat off to Apple, but then again, when you're $1 trillion company, what else would you expect?
Indeed. What's your second?
My second, James, is very much like yours. Apple adopting Podcasting 2.0 tags, but not just Apple. It was also great to see Pocket Cast taking the leap, and also Overcast. And I think, we've seen many other companies now. As I said, Spotify teased us with adding the podcast namespace, but it didn't actually do transcripts properly. But, I think it's great. And again, one of the things with this show is we sometimes make predictions in 2023, as you said earlier, that don't come true at the time,
yes,
but have come true since.
Yes.
And I think
Apple will be on Android, I said, in 2023, and it kind of is now, kind of. Yeah.
So, I mean, I think, so again, a highlight is because I think if I'm, looking at Apple, who I am a fanboy of, and say, Apple, please be the open champion. Please be the company. Now, if you listen to Ben Cave, I thought it was quite interesting when he said, it's the home of podcasting. That's how they perceive it internally. They are the, people looking after podcasting. And so if that's their thought process, then I think it's great that they've now started. I wish they would go further and faster. I'm one of those people. But, I think as a highlight for 2025, it was certainly a good highlight.
My third highlight for 2025 is slightly self-serving. It's the Podcast Hall of Fame. Now, just before you say, well, you only saying that because you got in, I'm actually quite pleased to see just a wider set of people in that Hall of Fame. It was, up until recently, mostly men, all from the US, and very OG. Now there are many more people in there, not just from the US, but from other countries as well. Lots of women in there now. I mean, great to see Ariel being in there as well. A bunch of really good people into the Hall of Fame. And I think it shows just that the industry has grown up a bit. And we're not just looking at somebody that did a show that not very many people had to listen to in 2005. We're now looking at far more than that. So I think hurrah for them.
I think it's followed the natural arc of its development. Geeky white men getting together to come up with technology, followed by more maturity to bring women into the conversation, and then more maturity to bring the international audience into the conversation. Yeah. So it just feels like it's followed a natural arc, really.
No, indeed. Your third?
And Well, talking of people who are doing wonderful things, congratulations to Justin Jackson for stepping into the leadership role for the Podcast Standards Project. I think the Podcast Standards Project is highly needed. I did take a role in it and had to step away from it. I don't think I could fulfill that role in the way that I wanted to. But thank you for Justin to step up. And I think, he's a lovely man, and his, energy, enthusiasm, I think will help bring everyone together. And the other part of that really is related to Adam Curry, who spoke at Podcast Movement after he said he'd never do it. So I'm really glad. I hope Adam makes it to London and does one as well, because it's lovely to meet him, lovely to see him there. Not holding my breath on that one, by the way. But
no,
not holding my breath.
Good luck.
Yeah, we might if we get it back into Amsterdam or Holland somewhere. But look, it was great to see that, and I hope Justin can steer the PSP forward in 2026.
Research and data for me was a highlight. There are a lot of good companies out there who are doing some good data, whether that sounds profitable, whether that's Edison Research, Radar in the UK, Triton, Podscribe, and many others as well. There's a really good amount of research and data. It's valuable, it's useful, it helps us grow. But I think what's nice about it is sounds profitable stuff is open to everybody. If you're a partner, you get to see it first, of course. But otherwise, it's open to everybody. Radar has a ton of open stuff for the UK. Triton has a ton of open stuff as well in terms of some of the data that it releases and so on and so forth. I think it's just really helpful. So more of that. And certainly if you were to have a look at other parts of the industry, particularly radio, nobody shares their radio figures, really. Nobody shares any research and data other than just the boring audience numbers. So the fact that there is so much data for our industry is, I think, a really good thing. So hurrah for that.
Indeed. My fourth was more companies started hosting. I think Riverside, we heard about, Patreon, Fountain, TrueFans. But also on the other side of the fence, we saw Podhome bring out a new listening app as well. I think when we talk about our prediction show, I think I'll have a lot more to say. But it was exciting to see hosting become much more of a commoditized feature rather than a dedicated function.
Yeah, no, indeed. And my fifth was more routes to monetization. I don't think this has been really sort of properly noticed yet. But there's been quite a lot of change in the last year in terms of the way that podcast creators can make money. It's never been easier, actually, because you got Spotify, of course, with their partners program, and YouTube, but then you've got people like RSS.com or Blueberry or Libsyn, who are all offering automatic ads. You can just tick a button and away you go, and you're earning money from the ads that you make. You might not be earning an awful lot of money, but you are earning money, which is a great step forward. So RSS.com and companies like that have done really well, as, by the way, have Buzzsprout, our sponsor as well. Plus, of course, you've got tools from Patreon and Substack who have grown their tools last year and supporting Cast and others as well. It's not the only reason why we make podcasts, but the fact that there are now even more ways that you can more easily earn money out of it is, I think, a really good thing. So, and I don't think it's sort of, it's basically been done by stealth, I guess.
I think the perception now is that for quality content, you will probably have to pay. I mean, I'm seeing more and more of the Rest Is shows going behind membership walls on YouTube. I don't know if you've noticed that trend as well.
Yeah.
We've also seen people like Scott Galloway doing something what I'm going to call pod drops. Fundamentally, taking one story that's a headline, literally going online and talking about one story, then dropping off, so like 15-minute long. But they're monetizing against that as well. So I think there's a lot of things that are occurring, as you say, stealth-like. I mean, I think the biggest target is still Patreon. I mean, people don't talk about how much money people are paying through Patreon. They gave out $2 billion last year to creators. we talk about the ad industry being 2.4 billion. Well, it's not far behind. And I think that's something that we'll see a lot more of in 2026, I think.
Yeah, no, indeed. And what's your final highlight?
My final highlight really was, we talk about video and we talked about HLS, but I was excited to see Fountain again. Well done, Oscar and the boys, for supporting it. Omni, Pod2, my own company, True Fans. But it was also good to see that companies like the New Media Show with Rob Greenlee, who, I'd banged the drum with Todd for many years and he never really sort of did it, have actually adopted the alternative enclosure correctly, and they're using that. I think that's exciting that, again, we talk about the chicken and egg. I think if hosting companies can put HLS support or video support, doesn't have to be HLS, as you said, James, and then the apps will then adopt it and vice versa. Maybe we'll get the big boys like Apple to then go, okay, now's the time to do it. So it's exciting to see those companies do it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, indeed. It's very exciting. So we've done quite a few of these now, haven't we? We've done predictions and stuff for 2023, 2024, and so on and so forth. I find some of these amusing. Looking back at 2023 and the Pod News puppies being a highlight, and things like that.
Can I just confirm they were dogs? Yes.
Yes, they were, and lowlights like the end of the end of Google Podcasts before YouTube Music was mature enough. I wonder if it's mature enough now. So a bunch of all of that stuff. It's been fun to do. Have you spotted anything in the archives?
Yeah, I mean, one of yours was in 2023. Mass layoffs driven by profit and dumb decisions, and we said fail. Fail. Actually,
we said fail.
Yes,
I think that's a definite success now.
Yes.
Yeah. Gosh.
Another one of yours was mass market adoption of podcasting 2.0. We said fail again. Yes. And again, that has taken a little longer, but congratulations, you were prescient. Yes, I saw those. One of my lowlights continues to be a lowlight, was a slow adoption of micropayments and wallets in 2023.
Oh, really? There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, well, there you go. I think, again, one of your predictions in 23 was the download will be less valuable and listen time more valuable. I think, again, still the jury's out, as we said earlier. I mean, it's moving. But I think by the end of 26, I think you would have had that as a success if you had that as one of your predictions now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's all good. So next week, we will be doing our predictions for this year, which should be fun to do. What has happened for you over Christmas and the New Year, Sam?
Well, as an empty nester, now you've not got this problem yet, but I'm an empty nester, which means both my kids have moved out pretty much. And so it's great having them back. The energy in the house just gets lifted, and boyfriends are around, friends are around, lots of merriment. And in our village, we do a Boxing Day game, so the whole village gets out. Yeah, I'm
sure you do.
Yeah, we do. We do. So the whole village gets out, and it's great. Yeah. We have... and
people leave their clothes on, do they, for this?
They do, yes. No, that's another event, but no. That's midsummer. No, the Boxing Day game's great with, bouncy... do you remember those orange bouncy balls that you used to sit on them? Space hoppers.
Yes. Space hoppers, yes.
Yes, space hoppers. Yes, we have loads of space hoppers. We have, silly games, tugs of war, and then we all pop to the local pubs and just drink ourselves silly again. So, yes, lovely.
Well,
so what happened for you, James, over Christmas? That sounds
fantastic. And it does seem as if you've had this cold now, Sam, for the last 3 months.
No, it's just come back this week. I don't know what's going on. Look, if you live in a wet, miserable country, what do you expect?
Well, yes, there is that.
Yes. So what's happened for you, James?
Oh, hot and humid and a bit weird.
41, wasn't it?
Australia.
41 degrees at one point.
Yes. Well, yes,
Wow.
it's hot and humid, and I'm still. So I've been here for 10 years, and I still don't understand walking into a shopping centre and out of the blistering heat and the humidity, and your shirt is sticking to your back and everything else, and you walk into the air conditioning and the music is playing Let It Snow, and there are pictures of Christmas trees there with fake snow on it, and you can get your photograph with Santa, and none of it makes sense. It's very upside down.
Yes, literally.
It's very upside down, but still, no, we haven't gone anywhere. Partially because the rest of the family are doing a big holiday in July of this year, going to Germany and then going to the UK. And I said, okay, so you're going with my mother-in-law on a boat in Germany for 2 weeks. How can I opt out of that? So I successfully managed to opt out of that. But that does mean that that's when their big holiday is. And so for the summer here, i.e. what we've just had, we have just stayed here. So it has been very,
so you
very
won't
pleasant.
be going down the Danube, as they say.
I will not be. They will be.
Yes.
That's not a euphemism. But I will not be. I will not be. So there we are. That's it for this week. We will be back on the 9th of January with our predictions show, as I've just said. And on the 16th of January with the first Pod News Weekly show of the year. Now, that is going to be a bit weird because I will be at Podcast Movement. And in fact, I'm taking part in the new media show on stage, which is being recorded on the 17th.
Right.
So that might be fun. So we will see what happens there in terms of...
it's all right. It's just a copy of this show. They have.
Well... If you remember, what we did a couple of years ago is we actually just took the new media show and we stuck it out as this show as well.
Yes.
So who knows? We might be doing that.
Yes.
But anyway, we will see. But back next week with our predictions show, and looking forward to doing that.
You can still support this show by streaming sats. I know we said micropayments. Oh my God. But we'll keep going. You can give us feedback, certainly using the Buzzsprout fan mail link in our show notes. You can send us a super comment. It does work in True Fans, and boosts do work elsewhere. Become a power supporter like the 22 power supporters. Now. That's going to be updated shortly, but we will leave you to find out about that on the 16th of January. But for now, the 22 power supporters at weekly.podnews.net.
Indeed. Our music is from Studio Dragonfly. Our voiceover is Sheila D. For this audio, we used Clean Feed. I should say that we used a tool which I can't tell you about last time around to clean up some of the voices of our many contributors. Hopefully I'll be able to talk about that tool in episodes to come, but thank you to the anonymous person for giving us access to that. And this show is hosted and sponsored, as ever, by Buzzsprout. Podcast hosting made easy. Oh no, they don't say that anymore. By Buzzsprout. Start podcasting. Keep podcasting.
Get updated every day. Subscribe to our newsletter at podnews.net. Tell your friends and grow the show.
And support us.
The Pod News Weekly Review will return next week. Keep listening.